Jack Sullivan had never considered himself extraordinary. He was the kind of guy who got by without making too many waves, good enough at his job to avoid getting fired, decent enough at video games to enjoy them, and just charming enough to keep from being a total recluse. He had no illusions about his place in the grand scheme of things. The universe, as far as he knew, was full of mysteries he would never personally experience. That changed when he woke up to a spaceship hovering outside his apartment window. It had been an unremarkable night. Jack had fallen asleep in his gaming chair, illuminated by the soft glow of his PC monitor. Empty soda bottles and half-eaten snacks littered his desk. His last conscious memory was of participating in some weird online trivia game he had stumbled upon in a late-night Reddit thread. The contest had promised a cash prize, and the questions had been bizarre. If an interstellar species demanded tribute, what would be the optimal response? Given an army of reptilian warlords, how would you strategize? Their battle formations? What is the most diplomatic way to reject an arranged royal marriage without causing intergalactic war? Jack had assumed it was some elaborate sci-fi ARG, alternate reality game. He had answered the questions with the same mix of sarcasm and random knowledge he used in pub quizzes. Then, without much thought, he had hit submit and promptly dozed off. Now, blinking blearily at the sight of a colossal golden spaceship humming just outside his fourth-floor window, Jack was seriously questioning his reality. The entire building trembled as a soft but insistent hum filled the air. His phone screen flickered wildly, cycling through unreadable symbols. The air itself seemed charged, like the moment before a lightning strike. Then, without warning, a beam of shimmering blue light shot through the window and engulfed him. For a brief, weightless moment, Jack felt his entire body vibrate. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. His vision blurred, and before he could process what was happening, he was somewhere else. The first thing he noticed was the floor beneath his feet, smooth, metallic, and strangely warm, pulsing with a faint golden glow. The second thing he noticed was that he was no longer alone. Towering figures surrounded him, each one impossibly tall, with smooth blue skin, elongated silver eyes, and intricate golden robes that shimmered as they moved. Their hands were long and elegant, with extra joints that curled in ways that seemed unnervingly precise. The air smelled faintly of something metallic and sweet, like ozone mixed with honey. Jack swallowed hard. I think there's been a mistake. A deep, resonant voice boomed through the vast chamber. Behold the champion of the grand convergence. Jack turned toward the source of the voice and immediately regretted it. A towering figure stood at the center of the room, his presence commanding and undeniable. His skin had the same deep blue hue as the others, but his features were more angular, more regal. Glowing crystal-like protrusions jutted from his forehead like a crown, pulsing softly with light. His robe was deep purple, edged with gleaming gold, and his sharp-toothed smile was concerning. Jack took a cautious step back. Okay, I don't want to be rude here, but I have no idea what's going on. The assembled aliens erupted in cheers, a sound that echoed through the massive chamber like the roar of an arena crowd. Confetti, actual shimmering golden confetti, descended from the ceiling in slow, gravity-defying drifts. Jack Sullivan of Earth, the regal alien continued. You have emerged victorious in the grand tournament of the 7 systems, Jack blinked. I have? The cheers grew louder. One alien with bright silver markings on his forehead stepped forward, holding a golden tablet. By the sacred laws of the grand convergence, the champion shall receive the greatest honor of all the hand of our most esteemed princess in marriage. Jack's brain short-circuited. Wait, what? The crowd roared in celebration. Alien banners unfurled from the ceiling, emblazoned with swirling, otherworldly symbols. The regal figure clapped a massive hand on Jack's shoulder, nearly knocking him over. Rejoice, champion, for you have won the heart of the Celestial Dominion's most sought-after bride. Jack barely processed what was happening. I think there's been a misunderstanding. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. I didn't even know I was playing. The regal alien's glowing eyes twinkled with amusement. And yet you have succeeded where thousands before you have failed. Jack's mouth opened and closed like a fish. His stomach churned with rising panic. I don't know how I won. I thought it was a game. The golden-robed alien beside him nodded solemnly. Indeed. The Grand Tournament is the most sacred challenge of all, one that seeks the galaxy's greatest strategist, diplomat, and warrior. Jack let out a strangled laugh. Okay, but I'm not any of those things. I'm an IT guy. I fix computers. I argue about Star Wars on the internet. He gestured wildly. I have zero qualifications for any of this. The regal figure, whom Jack could only assume was some kind of emperor, tilted his head. And yet, your answers displayed unparalleled wisdom. Jack gaped at him. My answers were sarcasm. The emperor smiled knowingly. Sarcasm is a weapon of great precision. Jack felt like he was going to pass out. He grabbed the nearest solid surface, a strangely curved, floating podium, and took a deep breath. Okay. Look, I get that you guys think I won something, but I really don't think I'm cut out for this whole intergalactic destiny thing. A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. The regal figure's expression darkened slightly. The Grand Tournament is binding. To refuse the honor is to reject the will of the seven systems. Jack's stomach dropped. And what happens if I refuse? The golden-robed alien beside him cleared his throat. It would be seen as a grave insult. Jack felt the first prickle of real fear. Define grave. The Emperor's gaze hardened. The insulted party may demand retribution in any form they deem fit. Jack swallowed. That doesn't sound good. A new voice, smooth and commanding, cut through the murmurs. Indeed, it does not. The crowd parted as a figure stepped forward. Jack felt his breath catch. She was tall, almost his height, with violet skin that shimmered faintly under the chamber's strange floating lights. Silver patterns traced intricate swirling designs along her arms, glowing softly with every movement. Her long, flowing white hair cascaded over her shoulders, and her golden eyes studied him with something between curiosity and annoyance. She wore a fitted set of ceremonial armor, iridescent and elegant, a flowing cape draped over one shoulder. Even without an introduction, Jack knew exactly who she was. The princess, and from the unimpressed look on her face, she was not happy about. This is the champion? She asked, raising an elegant brow. Jack let out a nervous chuckle. Yeah, I guess so. Zira, the princess, folded her arms. I expected a warrior, not a fragile earth male who smells like artificial cheese dust, Jack groaned. Oh, come on, I don't even eat that many cheese puffs. The Emperor beamed. Then it is settled. Let the betrothal commence. Jack's eye twitched. What the hell had he gotten himself into? Jack stood frozen as the words sank in. Betrothal. To an alien princess. Because of a game. His brain desperately searched for a way out, but all it found was static. The cheers of the crowd felt like a dull roar in his ears, and every instinct told him to do what he did best in awkward social situations: make a joke and escape. Unfortunately, there was nowhere to run in a spaceship surrounded by towering, blue-skinned extraterrestrials. He turned his attention to the princess. Zira, they had called her. She was still scrutinizing him like an art critic assessing a questionable painting. Her golden eyes were sharp, intelligent, and from what Jack could tell, deeply unimpressed. Jack cleared his throat. So, Princess Zira, was it? She tilted her head slightly, acknowledging him without responding. Look, I don't want to assume anything, but from that look on your face, I'm guessing you're not thrilled about this either. A long silence. Then, no, I am not. Jack exhaled in relief. Great, that makes two of us. He clapped his hands together. So, if we both don't want this, we can just... He gestured vaguely at the air. Call it off, right? The moment he said it, the atmosphere in the room shifted. The cheers died down, replaced by murmurs and hushed whispers. The regal emperor, who Jack was now pretty sure was Zira's father, furrowed his brows. The Grand Tournament is sacred, the emperor said. His deep voice carried an unmistakable finality. The champion's victory is absolute. To refuse, the reward is to dishonor the 7 systems. Jack winced. Yeah, I heard that part, but let's be reasonable. There is no alternative. The Emperor's gaze was unyielding. Zyra stepped forward. Father, she said, her tone measured but firm, this human knows nothing of our people, our customs, or our ways. He is ill-suited to be my consort. Jack pointed at her. Exactly. He turned back to the Emperor. She makes a great point. I'm horribly unqualified for this position. The Emperor studied Jack carefully. You underestimate yourself, Earthling. The Grand Tournament is not a contest of brute strength, but of intellect, adaptability, and diplomacy. You have bested thousands across the stars in tests of knowledge and wisdom. There is no greater proof of your worthiness, Jack groaned. I was just answering trivia questions. A silver-robed alien elder with glowing tattoos stepped forward. And yet your answers displayed remarkable insight. He held up a floating holographic tablet and read aloud, Question. How would you de-escalate a potential war between rival planetary factions? Your answer, I don't know, maybe buy them all some tacos and let them talk it out. People bond over food. The elder nodded solemnly. A profound wisdom. Food is indeed a universal connector. Jack stared at him. I was being sarcastic. The elder ignored him and continued. Another example. When given command of a fleet under siege, what is your strategy? The elder looked up and read Jack's response. Your answer? Probably distract the enemy by pretending to surrender, then punch them in the face when they least expect it. Works in video games. Another murmur of approval swept through the council. Jack groaned. Okay, that's just dirty tactics. Zira pinched the bridge of her nose. This is absurd. The Emperor raised a hand, silencing the murmurs. Regardless of how you view it, the champion has proven his ability. The engagement will proceed. Jack let out a defeated sigh. You guys really don't do take-backs, huh? The Emperor's expression darkened. To reject the princess now would be a grave insult to our people. Jack winced. Yeah, I also heard that part. Zyra crossed her arms, her frustration clear. And what, exactly, is the consequence of this insult? The golden-robed elder spoke up again, his voice ominous. The offended party may demand retribution in any form they deem fit. Jack gulped. And, what does that usually mean? Zyra's golden eyes flickered. Typically, combat. To the death. Jack clutched his temples. Oh, come on. The Emperor's gaze remained steady. It is the way of the 7 systems. Jack turned to Zyra, exasperated. Do you want to fight to the death? She rolled her eyes. Not particularly. Jack turned back to the Emperor. Then maybe we can just not do that? The Emperor stroked his chin. There is another way. Jack's eyes lit up. Yes, let's hear that way. The engagement is binding, the Emperor continued. However, the betrothed may challenge one another in the rights of proving. If the human is found unworthy by the trials, the engagement will be nullified without dishonor. Jack blinked. That sounds suspiciously like a loophole. The golden-robed elder bowed. A sacred loophole. Jack turned to Zyra. I'm guessing you've done these trials before? She nodded. I completed them at 12. Jack rubbed his temples. Of course you did. Zyra studied him. Do you wish to challenge the rights of proving? Jack hesitated. His instincts screamed yes, but he had no idea what these rights actually involved. What exactly would I have to do? He asked cautiously. Zyra exhaled. The rights of proving are tests of skill, intelligence, and leadership. If you fail even one, the engagement is void. Jack's shoulders slumped in relief. Oh, well, that's perfect. I'll fail immediately. I fail at stuff all the time. Zyra smirked. Then the challenge is accepted. The Emperor nodded. The trials will commence at dawn. Jack groaned. Oh, so now I have to wake up early for this? Zyra turned to leave, but paused. She glanced over her shoulder at Jack, her expression unreadable. We will see if you are truly as unworthy as you claim. Jack rubbed the back of his neck. Trust me, Princess, I'm about to disappoint everyone. As the golden-robed elders prepared for the trial, Jack sighed, resigned to his fate. If failure was his only way out of this mess, then failure it would be. After all, he was great at failing. Jack had never been much of a morning person. He liked sleeping in, hitting snooze at least 3 times, and rolling out of bed only when his stomach demanded food. But this morning, or whatever counted as morning, on an alien spaceship, he was wide awake. Not by choice, of course. A loud, blaring horn had jolted him from his too-short sleep, and before he could so much as stretch, 2 towering guards had all but dragged him to an enormous, circular arena. The air smelled metallic, the walls pulsed. With faint blue light, and a massive crowd of aliens had gathered in the stands, eagerly awaiting the spectacle. Jack groaned as he was shoved forward. A simple alarm clock would have worked just fine. Zyra, already standing at the center of the arena, raised an unimpressed eyebrow. Unlike Jack, who was still wearing the rumpled hoodie and sweatpants he'd been abducted in, she was clad in sleek ceremonial armor. The deep blue plating shimmered under the overhead lights, accented with glowing silver etchings. Jack squinted. Is it too late for me to get cool battle armor? Zyra smirked. You would not know how to wear it properly, Jack huffed. Rude. The Emperor's voice boomed through the arena. Let the rites of proving begin. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Jack felt his stomach churn. He had agreed to these trials to fail on purpose, but now that he was standing here, he realized something unsettling. He had no idea what he was supposed to fail at. A golden-robed elder stepped forward. The first trial, test of combat. Jack's blood went cold. Oh, that can't be good. The elder gestured to the far side of the arena, where a towering 4-armed warrior stomped into view. The alien was at least 8 feet tall, with thick armored skin and a menacing pair of tusks. It carried an enormous staff, its edges sparking with crackling energy. Jack's stomach dropped. Wait, I have to fight him? Zyra barely suppressed a smile. You may surrender if you wish. Jack exhaled. Oh, I'm definitely surrendering. The elder shook his head. No. The rites must be attempted. Only failure within the trial grants dismissal. Jack pinched the bridge of his nose. Right. Of course, because why would there be a normal way out of this? The warrior advanced, spinning its staff effortlessly. The crowd cheered louder. Jack turned to Zyra. So, just checking, how likely is it that I die? Zyra tilted her head. Not immediately. Jack groaned. The warrior lunged. Jack yelped and ducked purely on reflex. The staff whizzed over his head, crackling with blue electricity. His brain barely had time to process before his legs decided, on their own, to start running. He sprinted across the arena, dodging swings by sheer dumb luck. The crowd erupted into laughter. Whether at his cowardice or his unexpected agility, he wasn't sure. His luck ran out when he tripped over his own foot. The warrior loomed over him, staff raised. Jack squeezed his eyes shut. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. The warrior swung down, and Jack rolled to the side just in time. The staff slammed into the arena floor, sending a shockwave through the ground. The force of it propelled Jack forward, directly toward the warrior's feet. Without thinking, Jack scrambled up and did the only thing his panicked brain could come up with. He kicked the warrior in the shin. The crowd gasped. The warrior let out a strangled grunt of pain, stumbled backward, and fell flat on its back. Silence. Then, deafening cheers. Jack blinked. Wait, did I? The elder raised his hands. The champion has succeeded in the test of combat. Jack groaned. Are you kidding me? Zyra smirked. Perhaps you are not as weak as you claim. Jack shot her a glare. That was a fluke. But the trial was over. Whether by accident or fate, he had won. The elder stepped forward again. The next trial, Test of strategy. Jack exhaled. Okay, strategy. Maybe this one I can actually fail. A holographic battlefield appeared before him, displaying two opposing armies, one labeled Jack's forces, the other enemy forces. The elder gestured. You must command your army to victory. Jack cracked his knuckles. All right, time to tank this thing. The crowd hushed as Jack stared at the battlefield. He placed a single soldier at the very edge of the map, alone and exposed. A murmur of confusion spread through the audience. Jack smirked. Perfect. Let's lose this thing spectacularly. The enemy army immediately swarmed toward the lone soldier, but the moment they reached him, a sudden trap triggered, a hidden ambush Jack had unknowingly activated. The enemy army was completely wiped out. Jack's mouth fell open.
No, 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 no! That was supposed to be a suicide move. The elder nodded approvingly. A brilliant feint. The champion has succeeded in the test of strategy. Jack threw his hands up. Oh, come on. Zyra chuckled. Perhaps you are
More capable than you appear. Jack groaned into his hands. I swear I am not doing this on purpose. The elder raised his hands once more. The final trial. Test of diplomacy. Jack perked up. Okay, maybe this one he could actually bomb. A holographic alien ambassador appeared before him. The elder announced, You must successfully navigate a fragile peace negotiation. Jack took a deep breath. Time to fail. He cleared his throat and looked at the ambassador. You, sir, have the face of a very angry potato. The audience gasped. The ambassador stroked his chin. A bold statement, one that challenges my preconceived notions of self-image. Jack blinked. Wait, what? The ambassador nodded. You dare insult me not out of cruelty but out of honesty. A rare trait in diplomacy. Jack opened his mouth, then closed it. The ambassador bowed. I accept your terms. The elder smiled. The champion has succeeded in the test of diplomacy. Jack wanted to scream. The crowd erupted into cheers. The emperor stood, beaming. The rites of proving are complete. The champion has triumphed in all trials. Jack turned to Zyra in horror. You have got to be kidding me. Zyra smirked. It seems fate has chosen you after all. Jack groaned. He had accidentally succeeded at everything, and now he was officially engaged to an alien princess. Jack stood in the middle of the grand ceremonial hall, surrounded by thousands of cheering aliens, utterly horrified at how his life had spiraled out of control. He had tried to fail, repeatedly. Yet, thanks to the cruel whims of fate, and possibly the universe having a sick sense of humor, he had accidentally aced every single trial. And now he was officially engaged to Princess Zyra. Jack massaged his temples. Okay. There's got to be one last loophole here. I mean, what happens if I just run away? The golden-robed elder overheard him and smiled. The princess would be honor-bound to hunt you down. Jack turned to Zyra. You wouldn't actually do that, right? Zyra smirked. It would be a grave insult if my betrothed fled. Jack exhaled sharply. Of course it would. The emperor stepped forward, arms spread wide. The seven systems rejoice. The champion and my daughter shall be joined in sacred union. The crowd erupted into thunderous applause. Jack forced a tight-lipped smile and whispered to Zyra, Look, you don't want this, I don't want this, so how do we get out of it? Zyra considered for a moment, then sighed. There is only one way a betrothal may be dissolved after the rites of proving. Jack perked up. Oh, thank God. What is it? She turned to face him fully. The bride must be the one to call it off. Jack blinked. Wait, you mean you can just say no? Zyra smirked. Yes. Jack threw up his hands. Then say no. She folded her arms. It would bring dishonor to my name. Jack groaned. You were against this 5 minutes ago. Zyra's golden eyes gleamed with amusement. I was against marrying an unworthy idiot, but you have impressed me. Jack rubbed his face. Oh, great. So my punishment for accidentally being competent is that I get space married? Zyra shrugged. That is how it works. The Emperor clapped his hands. Let the sacred binding ceremony begin. Jack panicked as a glowing ring of golden energy encircled him and Zira. Wait, hold on. We can negotiate. The Elder ignored him. Do you, champion Jack of Earth, accept this union? Jack turned to Zira, desperate. You can still say no. Zira smirked. Where would the fun be in that? Jack exhaled. Oh, screw it. He straightened up, took a deep breath, and looked Zira dead in the eye. Then, in his most serious tone, he said, no takebacks. Zira's confident expression faltered slightly. What? Jack crossed his arms. You heard me. If you don't call this off, then that's it. We're in this forever. You'll be stuck with me. A guy who can barely take care of himself, let alone rule a kingdom. Zira hesitated. Jack pressed on. I eat cereal for dinner. I procrastinate. On everything. I have an embarrassing number of Star Wars references stored in my brain. He grinned. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life dealing with that? Zira stared at him, her smirk slowly fading. The Emperor frowned. Daughter, why do you hesitate? Zira opened her mouth, then closed it. Jack's heart pounded. Please let this work. Finally, Zira took a slow breath and turned to her father. I withdraw my claim. A collective gasp rippled through the hall. The Emperor's eyes widened. You would reject the champion? Zira nodded. Yes. He is, she glanced at Jack and smirked, unworthy. Jack let out a dramatic sigh of relief. Oh, thank God. The golden-robed elder nodded solemnly. The bond is dissolved. The engagement is void. Jack pumped a fist. Yes, Zira folded her arms. Do not celebrate too much, Earthling. I still bested you. Jack raised an eyebrow. Did you, though? He grinned. Because from where I'm standing, I got exactly what I wanted. Zira blinked. Then, for the first time, she actually laughed. The Emperor sighed, rubbing his temples. Very well. The champion is released from obligation. He turned to Jack. You may return to Earth. Jack blinked. Wait, I can leave? The Emperor nodded. You are no longer bound to our people. Jack hesitated, glancing at Zira. And what about you? She raised an eyebrow. What about me? Jack scratched the back of his neck. I mean, you don't want to get married either, so... What? Now? Zira exhaled, staring at the vast expanse of stars through the ceiling's transparent panels. I do not know. She looked at him. For the first time, my path is uncertain. Jack nodded slowly. Yeah, uncertainty's kind of my whole thing. Zira smirked. Yes, I noticed. Jack chuckled. Then, after a moment, he made a bold decision. You know, if you're looking for something uncertain. He grinned. You could always come with me. Zira tilted her head. To Earth? Jack shrugged. Why not? It's full of weirdos like me. You might like it. Zira studied him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she smiled. Perhaps I will. The Emperor immediately frowned. Daughter, you would abandon your place here? Zira turned to him, her expression resolute. I would find my own place. Jack grinned. Trust me, Earth's a great place for that. The Emperor sighed deeply. Very well. He turned to Jack. Earthling, take care of her. Jack nodded. No promises, but I'll try. The Emperor muttered something in his native tongue that Jack was pretty sure was an insult. With a fire, that Zira and Jack stepped onto the glowing transport platform. As the teleportation sequence began, Zira turned to him. One condition. Jack blinked. What? She smirked. I drive. Jack laughed. Oh, we're going to get along just fine. The light engulfed them, and in a blink, they were gone. Epilogue. Earth. A few days later. Jack sat on his couch, scrolling through his phone, a bowl of cereal in his lap. Across from him, Zira examined a microwave deep in thought. She pressed a button and the microwave beeped. She immediately drew a weapon and pointed it at the machine. Jack choked on his cereal. Whoa, whoa, it's just heating food. Zira narrowed her eyes. It made an aggressive noise. Jack laughed. Yeah, welcome to Earth. Zira slowly lowered her weapon. Your planet is strange. Jack smirked. Yeah, well, and so are you. She considered that, then smirked back. Perhaps that is why I stayed. Jack leaned back, grinning. Guess that makes two of us. The microwave beeped again. Zira glared at it. Jack laughed, and somewhere, in the vastness of space, an emperor sighed.